Good morning.
Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
Was I supposed to say good evening?
Well, normally I say good morning, you say good afternoon.
Well, you threw me off.
I did. It was kind of fun. Something new and different.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I feel.
Feelings, nothing more than feelings. Whatever you're feeling, you're in the right place. We were talking about this before at the beginning of the show with our producer and the guests who are waiting in the wings. And not everybody had heard of this song by Morris Albert. It came out in 1974. And Shia
was living in the woods off the grid. I had no electricity, no indoor plumbing. And so I did not ever hear this song before. And so it's a complete surprise to me,
Yeah,
what does it mean to you, Shia? Nothing.
He has a whole gap in culture during, contemporary culture during that time frame. So that's kind of fun.
Well, at least I was around during that time.
Yeah, well, mainly.
Yeah.
Because part of it you were in the drug haze.
Yeah.
Back in the hippie days.
Yeah, yes, that's true.
That is true.
Okay.
We're no longer in the hippie days.
And we're no longer in the drug haze.
We're in the being here in the moment clarity.
Yes.
And if you want some clarity, also, all you have to do today is listen, use your ears, really engage.
But when Ariel says use your ears, see, the problem is you're going to interpret what we say through the language that you know, through the what you think the words mean. So it's going to require some extra listening to hear what's being said without judging it or disagreeing or agreeing with what's being said. We're not going to try to fix you or change you. So all there is to do is listen.
Well, we will finish each other's sentences.
We do that regularly.
You can count on that.
Yes.
Recently, we did a Living Made Easy seminar. We do them Mondays, one Tuesday a month, and also many Saturdays during the month. And we had a lovely woman on who said, in other words, you're saying I should be upbeat and cheerful.
No, optimistic.
And it was interesting how she took what was being said and applied it to her already ongoing system of belief. So today, let's see if we can just let go of what we already know, what we've heard before, including from the Being Here podcast, and have today be a brand new creation of possibility and see what's here for all of us.
You know what I love? Listening to you. I love listening to you express and explain how you see in this transformational paradigm that we live in. Because I don't expect it from you. Usually I'm the one that talks about listening. But I like you're talking about it. So from now on,
oh, yes,
it's your job.
Isn't that funny? How our minds are set up to enjoy something and then make a decision going forward. Yeah. So thank you for that. That was very fun.
I thought so too.
Yeah. And I love listening to you as well. We've sat side by side for this podcast for more than 15 years. We've worked together doing seminars since 87 or 88. And you always say things uniquely, newly. And being with you is just a delight.
Well, thank you. And listening to you just a moment ago, it was uniquely, newly expressed by you, this thing. See, it's so difficult to express how to live in the moment because there's no how to it. It's difficult to express because we are trying to put words around experience and describe the indescribable, because an experience happens instantaneously and it's gone, and then you codify it, you have a facsimile of it called a memory, but it's not the real McCoy, it's not the real thing.
I have a feeling that when many of us feel certain things, it's tied to the past. Meaning, if I am sad, I'm more likely to tie that to something that happened in my past.
Or in your recent past or distant past.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. As though the cause of the sadness is an event that is either happening or happened, and you're feeling it because of that, but maybe you're just feeling feelings.
I saw that recently in that I sometimes I dream of my parents who both passed away now, and they are very real in my dreams, and we have conversations, and then when I wake up, there's sometimes an emotional reaction to having been with them.
Yes.
And what I realize is that what I'm feeling is now. It's not from something.
Right.
It's just evoking what's in me in this moment.
Yes. So it's like a sponge. You squeeze it and what's in it comes out.
I love that. If I were to take a sponge, if I spilled cranberry juice on my counter, I took a sponge and I wiped it up, and I go to the sink and I squeeze it out, I'm not going to get milk. And some of us, when we get squeezed, we want to have what we think we should have rather than what we have.
That's right.
Okay.
And we're stuck with whatever we didn't want to experience.
Yeah, it's kind of like you refill the sponge over and over.
With what you don't want to have.
Let's take our first guess.
Yes, let's.
All right, Elka, welcome to being here, and tell people where you're zooming in from.
Hi, Ari and Shaya. I'm zooming in from Hamburg, and it's a delight for me as well to be with you.
So lovely to see you again. It's been a couple of years, more than a couple of years, since we did in-person seminars and went to Hamburg regularly.
Yeah.
When this airs, we'll have seen some of your German friends just a couple of days ago, because we're recording this right before the Being in Nature retreat, which will have just happened. So shout out to all those who joined us, and shout out to all those who didn't, like you.
I don't, yes. Yeah, but I hope you will be back in Hamburg someone, or I will be back somewhere else where I can meet you. So, yeah, you just talked about being in the moment, and I immediately thought about the last time I felt it. I felt that is my description of being in the moment. 3 days ago, I was still in France, and we had with my husband, who is still there, and I had a wonderful experience of feeling the Mediterranean Sea, the sun, the nice morning, being alone at the beach, and letting me flow in the waves. I do hear some movements, you can see it, but the others I cannot see it when they hear it. And that felt so good. And I would say I bring together being in the moment with feeling well in myself. And I can also see that good feelings, and that's what I believe, are easier to, it's easier to stay in the moment with good feelings. And I don't think that it's so easy just feeling bad feelings, and then feelings that I don't want, like jealousy, like being angry. just feeling them, and then to accept the moment.
Well, you know, Elka, the first principle of instantaneous transformation says something like,
Any feeling.
you don't want or don't like or wish were different, that's what you get stuck with. So if you don't like the feeling of jealousy or anger, you're guaranteed to stay jealous and angry.
And it's more likely to repeat.
Because anything you don't want or don't like, you get stuck to. It's as though you push against. I'm doing something here on video.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm pushing one hand against the other, and I'm stuck to the hand that I'm pushing against. It's pushing back on me because anything you don't want, you get stuck with that. So it's about embracing your life. And what you're saying is it's so much more convenient to embrace your life when you like the feeling.
When you're not in pain, when you're happy, when you have well-being, when the air is lovely and you're by the
yeah. Yeah. For instance, tomorrow I will I'm working as a sexual therapist now since 4 years, and I sometimes I feel myself still as a beginner in this job, and it's easy for me to, or I'm excited in a positive way if I see a new woman as a client. Tomorrow I will see a man, and that makes me, I don't, somehow nervous because it's yeah, I'm not so used to, as a gynecologist, to talk to men, and it's a topic which is yeah, I often feel not ashamed, but for me it's a bit
embarrassing
to ask them, and then to show them exercises which they should do at home, how they should feel there and touch their penis in a new way or something like that. Yeah, that's a bit. That's not in the first appointment, but sometimes I talk to them, and or they get another way to their sexuality.
What I'm enjoying right now is watching your embarrassment, or it's an innocence too. So there's in talking about a subject that has been verboten in our bringing up, our growing up. Our parents didn't talk to us, and you were a gynecologist until you retired, and then you became a sex therapist, which is a very logical extension of where you had been.
And your expertise.
Right. You still have the socially conditioned feelings that run with it, that you can't talk about it like you're talking about apple pie.
Yes.
You were saying, Elka, it makes me nervous. And how I see it is, you spent so many years talking to woman after woman after woman who came in, talking to you very specifically about their sexuality. And of course, you saw many vaginas, because as a gynecologist, that was part of your job. So you didn't see as many men, so you didn't have the opportunity to flatten the part of you that has that innocent enculturation that gets bashful or embarrassed. So what's kind of exciting is that you and your client have the opportunity to be new and innocent together, rather than trying to come across as the expert in this.
But the other thing is this: I bet you when you first started as a gynecologist, there was an embarrassment in talking about sex that that you overcame with women because there's a commonality there.
And there's practice, years of practice.
Yes.
Now.
And I'm sure you overrode those, quote, feelings of ineptitude or those feelings of embarrassment through the role of being a doctor.
Yes.
That's
right.
that gave you a platform to operate from. You didn't have to be a person talking to another person about intimate, vulnerable subjects where people feel as though they're not enough or they're not doing it right or they should do it different. See, transformation is not about more, different, and better. It's about what is.
Mm-hmm.
When you deal with somebody who has a sexual dysfunction, they have a condition that they don't even want to look at.
Or because it's not like, it's embarrassing to them.
And so that you have the opportunity to approach it in a way where the seeing of it is enough to complete it. Third principle of instantaneous transformation: anything you allow to be exactly as it is completes itself in an instant. So if you've been avoiding something and not looking at it for however many years of your life, and then you see it for what it is and not for what you're afraid it might mean, it can complete itself in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
Second principle is life shows up exactly as it does. Your condition is what it is.
Yes. It's a new point of view. I can see now. I know that they are embarrassed too, and I see it when I see women, how much they are afraid to talk about their sexuality, and men as well. And so
I'll give you another hint coming from being a man. Men want to know or want to think that they have it all together. They know everything there is to know already, like they are Casanova. Except they're not.
Well, there definitely is a pressure for that.
Well, Ariel and I, after we got married, we hired a sex coach. And what I learned to do was listen to Ariel, because men don't listen to their wives or their girls.
And that was really a
Turning point.
A turning point for us, because if I had feedback for him, he thought he knew better. This was pre-transformation. So if I said, could you do that softer, whatever that was, it was offensive to him. Like, no,
I'm the man. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I learned my 12-year-old friend or 10-year-old friend.
How to be a man?
Yeah, all about sex,
Yes, and I think this is in my fear or embarrassment or nervousness too, that it's a man and I as a woman have to tell them how to do.
Yes, but maybe that's truly the role of a woman, is to teach men how to be sensitive and intimate and engaged.
Not through judgment or censorship is the weird word that comes up. But I feel like Shia can ask me anything because he's fairly clear at this point that I'm not going to judge him for that question. And it may not occur to you that your embarrassment, vulnerability is really an asset, that the more you embrace it, the more safe they will feel with you.
And it did not occur to you
really
that
good. Yes,
embarrassment is his embarrassment, and he just hasn't arrived yet physically in front of you, but you're picking up the
essence of him
as he
because
arrives.
you actually think, oh, I'm embarrassed to talk about this. You haven't considered that.
Are you always embarrassed about talking about this, or is this something that's just shown up?
Flavor.
That's right.
Yes.
And the more you're okay with being you, when he pops on the screen with you or walks into your office, depending on if you're doing it
in my office. Yes.
the more comfortable he'll be to be him, because you've already okayed it in yourself.
You've met him before, and it's okay with you that he is he.
Because you allowed yourself to be you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome.
I'm excited for him. He's first of all,
He's lucky that he met you.
He's met you, and wow, what a courageous person to be willing to search out answers for something they want the answer to.
And that is not socially that acceptable to talk about up front.
Pretty cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Today, what a gift.
Yes, you're a treat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. It's that time.
The time for what?
Our listener feedback spotlight.
What is that?
Well, I'm so proud of the people who listen to this show. And now we get to hear from one or more of them about what's happening in their lives with transformation by listening to this podcast and
what they've discovered about life, what they've discovered about their lives, that they are experiencing fun in their lives.
And that they want to share it with you.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Jody from Brooklyn, and I love the podcast, being here. It's made such a difference in my day. I love listening before work. It gets me centered. I feel ready to start the day and work with teachers.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shire's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
We have a Living Made Easy seminar this Saturday, but we won't have one on the Monday night, the 31st, because it's Halloween here in the States and a lot of people are out trick-or-treating. So the next Monday will be on the 7th of November, and the Tuesday evening, for those of you in Europe, is on the 8th. Our next weekend seminar
is Relax into Life, and that's going to be December 3rd and 4th.
Perfect timing. Right as people swing into the holidays,
right?
Relax into it or go crazy at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of the year, we're doing a seminar we've never done at the beginning, but I'm very excited about it. Transformational time and project management. We decided it would be really fun to start the new year with transformation as opposed to working on oneself to be more productive, more effective, and satisfied. So that course is on January 7th and 8th.
And then, of course, we've opened Costa Rica 2023. It's going to be a magnificent facility that we found recently. And it's at a thermal hot spring and
beautiful, beautiful location.
Beautiful resort.
With beautiful people.
Great food.
And you're invited.
Yes.
You can find out more about any and all of our seminars and register
at transformationmadeeasy.com. But I will say one more thing about Costa Rica.
Yeah.
It requires that you come to a weekend seminar with us virtually or in person.
Yeah. So if you want to come to Costa Rica with us and haven't done a weekend in this year, come to Relax into Life for transformational time and project management, and then you'll be eligible. All right.
All right.
Let's take our next guest.
Okay.
Thomas, welcome to being here. Tell people where you're zooming in from.
Hello, Ariel and Chaya. I'm Thomas. I'm zooming in from Allschwil in Switzerland.
All right.
Nice to see you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So my question is, I tend to push away or swallow feelings like sadness or anger or despair which I would describe as bad feelings, because I think they never helped me in my life, especially in my childhood. So I wonder how I can use them now in life as an adult, just to access my life a bit more.
Okay, well, look, my dear, access your life, yes, a bit more, I'm not so sure about. A little bit is more like change. Ariel and I invest in transformation rather than change. Change happens a little bit at a time, incremental. It's over time. Whereas with transformation, it happens in an instant and it's quite profound. So you're not just getting there, you're already there.
Mm.
Now let's talk about these feelings things. What happened in your childhood is a memory that was recorded by a child at the age of that event or those events or feelings that you are talking about. And they're only memories. But it was written by a child at that age, you see. So it may not be a real experience of what happened through your adult eyes, but through a child's eyes, things are,
And then they're not even actually the memories of the things that happened. They're rewritten over time. So in a way, it's almost like having a document, and every time you open it, you re-edit it a little more to your liking. So eventually, years later, it's very different than the first impression in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's very much possible. Yeah.
I want to tell you about an experience I had with you when you were describing feelings that you sometimes have a challenge with. So when you talked about sadness and anger and despair, I felt like you touched just lightly on recent experiences of having those emotions. And what happened for me is I felt love. Like your heart opened a bit, you let me see you, and all I felt was this huge heart that you have. And I know you've come to weekend seminars, to Living Made Easy, the 2-hour seminars, and I know you've experienced it when somebody comes and they're like, oh, my dad just passed away, and they're emotional, that what you feel coming from them is a gift, as opposed to, oh, they shouldn't talk about that.
There's another thing. I've known you for several years now, and I got to say that you look really handsome today.
Thank you.
I saw you on a Zoom seminar recently, but we didn't speak. You didn't.
I think you told me you looked handsome
then too. Well, okay, I'm consistent, but that means you're consistent. You look really good, Thomas. So, you may have ideas about feelings that you don't want to feel.
Yeah, of course.
You look good. So I say that you're doing well. And this is you working on yourself a little bit to try to get better, but you don't have to get better. You already look great to me. And I use my eyes as a determining factor as to how a person is.
Or my ears. I know that if for people who are listening to this, who don't have the visual component, I know that if they're really listening to you, they can feel you and know that your thoughts about yourself are far narrower than the reality of the greatness of Thomas.
See, your thoughts about you are the same thoughts you've been having for years and years and years, because thoughts repeat themselves every day.
Despair in a way is not really a feeling per se. It is the outcome of a series of thoughts that you followed. So, for instance, if I say, "Oh God, I'm no good at this," or "Oh, I'm no friends. I have no friends," or "Oh, I'm so isolated." I mentioned earlier, I think it might have been in a different. We recorded more than one podcast today. I had a dream last night, and in my dream, I was running around my parents' house, and there was nobody there. It was very empty, and I was saying, "No, no, this is too empty. It should be filled with people. It's supposed to be filled with people. This is too lonely." And if that was reality, I was for that dream, but here, if I had said those things and followed those things, and even in the dream itself, I was very aware that I was saying no and experiencing what that no did to my body. So it was like twofold. One was having the dream, and one was watching the dream as it was happening and seeing it like, wow, this is pretty wild. If you tell yourself something, "I don't like this, I don't have a girlfriend," or "This person's not nice to me," you can follow that series of thoughts and create an emotional response because you're listening to the thoughts as if
So
they're
that
true.
thought generated emotions.
And in fact, before we did this episode, and I know it was the song "Feelings," nothing more than feelings. I was thinking feelings, it's really thought provoked, that really a lot of our feelings follow a thought that we've had.
Mm.
And the things we like don't stick around. The things we don't like do. Because what you resist persists.
Mm.
What you say no to sticks around. And that's what you get stuck with.
Mm. And the reason why I tend to push these feelings away is I think that if I would follow them, they would drag me down how should I call it, a rabbit hole, which
Yes,
I cannot escape
yeah,
again.
that's a very, very logical reason to push them away. I think a lot of people have that idea. And not to tell you to do anything differently, but speaking from experience, anytime I've allowed myself to feel something rather than push it away,
it completes itself rather than gets worse.
Including sadness can be really magnificent, like really fulsome, wholesome when you let yourself feel it. Even anger is generally something that is triggered from a fight or flight response, like it's getting your body ready to, take on the adversary. And it can be fascinating if you hold it as a phenomena.
Mm.
But if you make it mean something about you,
"Oh, gee, I'm an angry person."
right?
Mm.
I know we just got quiet here, and this is a
Speaky.
a podcast that is based on sound, but there's something slow and lovely and profound happening right now.
Mm.
And it's very sweet to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you for spending some time with us.
You're welcome.
One other thing before you go. I know that some of the listeners know you and some of the listeners don't. But I imagine they've just met you. And it's entirely possible that they're experiencing how hard they are on themselves as well. Because we are our worst critics. And what we were saying to Elka, when you can have compassion for yourself and how you're being, you have compassion for others around you. And it also works the other way as well.
Mm. Thank you.
Thank you. Whew, that was fun. Oh, look, Shia.
What?
I said that was fun. Guess what next week's podcast is?
Fun. I like
The
that.
theme is fun. It was lovely being with you today, all of you who are listening. Thank you for being here, listener.
Yes.
And if you would like to submit a listener spotlight, which is the little statement from people who listen that you hear in the middle of this podcast. If you'd like to submit one, your experience of transformation or of this podcast, you're welcome to do that. Or if you'd like to be a guest, you're welcome to do that. Just go to transformationmadeeasy.com/being here and find out how.
That's right.
We'll be back next week.
So come on back.
And don't
Miss being here.
It'll be fun.